Welcome to ETH, News and Headlines from a Prophetic Perspective. Here at End Time Headlines, our mission is to inform our listeners of the times and seasons in which we are in. In Luke 21:28, we are told, when you begin to see all these things come to pass, lift up your heads. Your redemption is drawing near. And now, founder and pastor of End Time Headlines, Ricky Scaparo.
And everyone who'll be joining us today. Again, I'm Ricky Scaparo, the founder and the pastor of End Time Headlines. If you're watching today by Facebook Live, I just want to welcome everybody, and as well our YouTube audience that will be joining us, that will be watching this on the rebroadcast of this. Now, today we've got a very special segment I want to talk about today. It is Wednesday, October 18th, 2017. We're edging up to the 1 o'clock hour, 1 p.m. Eastern time here. Today I want to deal with something that's very controversial. We're going to be dealing with a controversial subject here today in this segment. Where is America in Bible prophecy, and what could become of her? So this is what we're going to talk about today. Again, I know this is going to be a very controversial subject, first of all. Number two, let's go ahead and turn this off. I'm getting phone calls as always. Go figure, right? This is going to be a very controversial segment because we're going to have different theories, different opinions. And so the perspective I'm going to give you is just one of many perspectives, one of many opinions. Again, we're just throwing this out there as a matter of, or a subject of discussion, something to chew on, something to discuss. Maybe you guys can take this video and you can do what you will with it. Some people take many of our messages and they make it a topic of Bible discussion or a Bible study. So that's what we're going to talk about today if you're joining us for this special Viewpoint segment. Again, we're going to be talking about where is America in Bible prophecy and possible scenarios to bring about one perspective that I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so we're going to go. If you guys are joining me if you guys are joining along today and you have your Bibles, you could turn there or you could just follow along. We're going to be talking. I'm going to show you some stuff out of Ezekiel 38, and I'm going to show you some stuff out of the book of Revelation, chapter. Here we go. Let me try this again. Ezekiel 38. And Revelation chapter 18. Again, Ezekiel 38, 39. We'll go ahead and say 38, 39. And Revelation chapter 18. Okay, so here we go. All right, so let's go over here to the book of Ezekiel chapter 38. I want to talk about this future war. This is a prophetic war that has not yet happened in our lifetime. This is a war that's going to happen in the future tense. This is a war that's discussed by many scholars, many of those who study eschatology. That's a big word, simply meaning the study of end times. Okay, and again, this is a future war that's mentioned in Ezekiel 38. And in which there's many nations that are named in this prophetic war that will rise up against the nation of Israel in the last days. So let's just read a little bit of this and we'll talk about this, and I'm going to show you some stuff about America as well. Now the word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, again this is Ezekiel 38, Son of man, set your face against Gog and the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, and Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and lead you out with all of your army, horses, and horsemen. There's so much on this I want to talk about today, so just hang in there. All splendidly clothed, a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all its troops in the house of Togarmah from the far north, and all its troops, many people are with you. Now, let's talk about these nations. First of all, I know most of the individuals that will be watching this segment today that will be joining us on YouTube that just went right over your head, because we don't refer to these nations today as the names they were given in ancient biblical times. So when I did my study on this personally, I discovered that some of these nations that will give you the modern day names for, the titles for, they vary in different opinions because things have changed geographically speaking. Just even the study of this, you'll discover, you could search this out. You can research this in your own time, and you'll get 12 different opinions on who certain of these nations are. So what I did was the majority, this is the interpretation or the modern translation of the names given to these nations today. So for example, Rosh would be Russia. Magog could be many nations here. We've got anywhere between, you've got different opinions from Afghanistan to Turkmenistan, which was an ancient name called Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and I probably slaughtered some of these names, but again, these are some of the interpretations of who Magog is. Persia, this one's easy, guys. Iran. Persia, if you see Persia in the Bible, it's modern day Iran. Then you have Cush, which is Sudan, Put, which is Libya, and then you have Meshach, Tubal, Gomer, and Togarmah, which is modern day Turkey. So here's the one thing in common with all these nations, with the exception of Russia, which is, again, turning in that direction, is they're all Islamic. Okay, now let's go back up here. The Bible says, according to Ezekiel 38, that in the latter days, this means the end times or the last days or the latter times. Anytime you see end times, latter days, last days, time of the end, these are words and terminology that alludes to the end times. Okay? All right, and it says in the last days, I'll put a hook in your jaws and I'll turn you around. Now what's interesting, you can't turn something around unless it's already going in a direction. So again, it's my opinion that when this war breaks out, these nations have already formed a coalition and an alliance or an allegiance, if you would, with no other intention but to come against the nation of Israel to destroy them. This is why it's my personal opinion. Now, this is where we're going to differ, okay? And some people's opinions on this. It's my personal opinion that this war of Gog and Magog is not a war that's going to take place tomorrow, next week. I don't even believe it'll be next year. I believe it's many years out. And you say, really, Brother Ricky, do you believe that? Yes. And let me give you several reasons why. Number one, that first of all, I believe there's going to be another war before this war. And I believe that war is also biblical. I believe it's also prophetic. And I believe it's mentioned in the book of Psalms chapter 83. And it's called the War of Psalm 83 is what we term that war is. And it talks about this Islamic confederation or this Islamic alliance that will come against the nation of Israel with no other intention but to wipe them out. Okay, now, let me point on some things here. Number one, in the war of Psalm 83, there's a nation that is mentioned in that war that is not mentioned in the war of Gog and Magog, and that is a big key player in Bible prophecy, if you know Isaiah 17, and that is the nation of Syria. Okay, now why is Syria not mentioned in this big war of Ezekiel 38, 39? Again, there's many speculation, there's many theories of why that is. It could be possible that Syria will be destroyed and will not exist as a nation, or at least be strong enough to be able to combat the nation of Israel and form an alliance with these other nations. Okay, number two. Okay, here's some other interesting things to talk about here. Number two, let's show you a little bit more deeper understanding of this war of Ezekiel 38. Now you say, well, I thought we were going to talk about America. Yeah, we are. So just hang on. We're going to get there. All right. It says in verse 8, after many days you will be visited in the latter years. Now we just went over that. Again, latter years, latter days, end of time, the last days. All these are terminology meaning the end of days or the end time or the time of the end. It says in the latter years you will come into the land of those brought back from the sword and gathered from many people on the mountains of Israel. That's the Jewish people, which had long been desolate, and they were brought out of the nations. Okay, you go to Ezekiel 37, it talks about a nation that was wiped out. There was nothing but bones, and the prophet spoke and said, can these bones live? And God raised them literally from the dead, and they were reborn as a nation, 1948, and the capital of Israel was reinstated in 1967 by a 6-day war. So God brought them back from the sword, gathered many people on the mountains of Israel, and again, this is speaking of a future tense that will be even a greater restoration to Israel, wherein which God said, and He prophesied, that the exodus that would come from the nations and gather back to the land of Israel would be greater than the one that came out of Egypt. And we're seeing that happen right now as we speak. He said, you will ascend coming like a storm. Who's they? You. Again, these nations in Ezekiel 38, covering the land like a cloud, you and all your troops and many peoples with you. Thus says the Lord, on that day it shall come to pass that thoughts will arise in your mind, and you will make an evil plan. And you will say, quote, here we go, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will go to a peaceful people who dwell safely, and all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Now, this is one of the greatest pieces of evidence that Brother Ricky's got today that I want to propose to you, why I do not believe that this war of Ezekiel 38, 39, the war of Gog and Magog, is going to take place anytime soon, because Israel, if you know anything about Israel, they are not in a condition, nor are they in a place right now where they are dwelling without walls, without bars, without gates, or in a place of peace. In fact, we just reported that ISIS terrorists just a couple days ago launched a fresh attack. Missiles were launched against them from the Sinai Peninsula region or from Egypt. So again, they're not in a peaceful condition. They're not in unwalled villages, and they're not without bars or gates. But the prophet Ezekiel foretold a day that would come. Could be in our lifetime, may not be. But he said that there will come a time when the nation of Israel will be restored and be brought out. Now, we have seen that, 48, 67, but we're not to this place of unwalled villages, without bars and without gates, and a place of peace. But we know, according to New Testament prophecy, in the book of Thessalonians, or I believe it's in 1 Thessalonians, it says that when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them as a woman in labor. Okay? So, now, he says again that there's this future war that's going to happen. But he says that, because I got to get on with this, guys, because we've got a lot to cover on this segment, and I don't want to get hung up on Israel and hung up on Gog, because this is not a whole study on Gog and Magog, which it almost seems like it is, but we have to do this to get to this place, okay? According to the book of Ezekiel 38, there is some nations that are standing outside. So now I want you to get this picture with me today. I want you to think about this for a second. Here we have an alliance or a coalition of Islamic nations that are invading the nation of Israel in a time of peace, without bars, without gates. Okay? They come down like a storm and they invade Israel. But it's interesting, in verse 13 of Ezekiel 13, it says that there is 3 nations that are consequently sitting aside, and they're not involved in this war. And they're Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, or 4, and the young lions. Okay? Now, again, here's one of them speculations. This is one of them interpretations that's left up to opinion, because there's so many different interpretations of this. But again, from what I've studied, the Sheba, Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, and all their young lions translates to the modern nations of Saudi Arabia and Great Britain. Now, here's a question. Why would Saudi Arabia and Great Britain... Now, by the way, Britain, the last time I checked, as of right now, 2017, Britain is still an alliance, or still a great ally to the nation of Israel. as well as the United States in the time that we're speaking this. Things could change 12 months from now. Okay? So why would Britain not come to the aid of Israel, but stand afar off and watch? Why would Saudi Arabia not be involved? I can understand more for Saudi Arabia than I would Britain. So these are questions that we have to ask ourselves, okay? Now, let's get into this thing. So who does that leave missing? I'm going to tell you guys, there is 4 nations that are missing from this war that makes me scratch my head and wonder why in the world would they not be mentioned in this world. Here's the big dance, right? This is the big prophetic dance. And we have to wonder why these 4 nations are missing. Ready? Okay, let me give you 3 other Islamic nations that are not mentioned in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Ready? Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. And let me say that again. Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. Now, what's interesting about these 3 nations is these are the 3 nations that made up an ancient biblical empire that was mentioned in the book of Daniel, that Daniel dealt with. It's mentioned in the Old Testament. And you ready? It's, again, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. These 3 nations made up an ancient biblical empire called Babylon. Is that not interesting? I don't know. That may not do nothing for you, but that's interesting to me because, again, when you get in the book of Revelation, I have some speculation on that. Even if you go back to the book of Daniel, it talks about this angel comes down and he cuts down the tree and he leaves the roots in the earth. And so the roots of these empires are still in the earth because, and if you know anything about cutting down a tree in the natural, if you leave the root system, it can grow back. And I believe that the ancient empire of Babylon could be this empire that received a mortal wound to the head. By the way, the mortal wound to the head is not the Antichrist being shot in the head and raised from the dead. Listen, that makes good Christian entertainment. It makes good biblical end times books and novels, but it's not biblical. If you go to the book of Revelation, it says, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded mortally, and it was raised." Okay, how many heads do you got, friends? When I looked in the mirror this morning, when I got ready and got dressed, I didn't have multiple heads. I had one head on my shoulders. This is not a prophecy about the Antichrist being shot in the head. It's talking about a mortal wound to one of the Antichrist's heads. The word head there is empires or nation. I believe that Babylon could be that nation that takes a mortal wound. It looks as if though they're dead. It's that kingdom that which was, which is, and is to come. Just like Jesus is he which was, which is, and is to come. But there's going to be a nation that seems as though it was destroyed, but the root system was left in the earth, and it will be raised in the latter days, and the Antichrist will come out of this empire. Come on. He's not going to come out of Europe. I know, again, this is good Christian novels. He's not going to come out of the White House. Come on. I told you, if that didn't stir you up a while ago, this is going to stir you up. All right. If you stick to the Bible, the Antichrist is coming out of the Middle East. Okay. There's terms biblically of the Antichrist that reveal this. He's called the king of Babylon. He's called the prince that is to come. He's called the Assyrian. These are 3 terms that are centered around the Middle East, not Europe, not some dude in the White House. Come on, it's not Trump, it's not Bush, it's not Obama. Okay. You can get mad at me and unfollow me, but I'm trying to give it to you straight from the Bible. But again, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, or this ancient kingdom called Babylon is missing from this great war of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And this leads me to the next empire that's missing, this next nation that's missing from these nations that are gathered together for this war in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And that nation is, ladies and gentlemen, America. Now listen, people's try to make it fit. They've squeezed it in, but the majority of those who have studied and rightfully divided the word, they have told me, listen, I've sat under seasoned men of God, And I've asked them, where is America mentioned in Ezekiel 38 and 39? And they cannot indefinitely show me where America is involved. And some even put them with Britain as the young lions that are watching afar off. Okay? And that may be stretching it as well. So again, I'm going to ask you a question today. If you're watching us on our Viewpoint segment, we asked the question, where is America in Bible prophecy? Okay? Now, let's go to Ezekiel 39. I want to read you something, Ezekiel 39. My gosh, we may have to do 2 parts on this because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get all this in here. And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, thus says the Lord God, behold, I'm against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and I will turn you around and lead you on, bringing you up from the far north, and bring you against the mountains of Israel. And then I will knock the bow out of your left hand, and cause the arrows to fall out of your right hand. And you shall fall upon the mountains of Israel, and you and all your troops and the peoples who are with you. I will give you to the birds of prey of every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. By the way, here's what's interesting is when you begin to study this and read this on, it's God himself that rises up and defends the nation of Israel. Come on, somebody. You shall fall upon the mountains of Israel. Again, he says, I'm going to give you to the birds of the prey of every sort of the beasts of the field to be devoured. And you shall fall on the open field. Here it is. For I have spoken, says the Lord God. Now, here's a verse right here in Ezekiel 39 that has always intrigued me. And if you want to know a verse that will keep me up at night, wondering if America falls in this category. Is this the puzzle piece that's missing? Is this the answer to the question? I don't know. We're doing a talking point today. We're doing a viewpoint today. This is my view. Okay? You have your viewpoint. I've got my viewpoint. We're having a discussion here. It's Ezekiel 39:6. It says, and the Lord speaking, and I will send fire on Magog. We've discussed who Magog is, but here we go. And on those who live in security in the coastlands. Now, I've asked other individuals who study Bible prophecy and eschatology and the end times, and I've asked them, who are these that are mentioned here that live in security in the coastlands? And inevitably, every one of them has told me that this could absolutely be. None of them. There's some that has indefinitely said that it is, and there's others that has strongly implied that this could be America that's mentioned here in Ezekiel 39:6, that God himself will send a fire to those who live in security in the coastlands. Then they shall know that I am the Lord. All right, now I want to ask you a question today. And I can already see that we're going to have to do 2 parts to this. We've got, I didn't know it was going to go on this long, but that's all right, because we'll just do that, okay? So I want to give you 6 scenarios. If you're taking notes, you guys can write this down, whatever you want. We're going to do 6 scenarios of what could happen to America and why they are not mentioned if this is a major battle. Now, wouldn't you think, again, I want to stir you up today. Wouldn't you think America would be involved in a war of this magnitude? That you've got all these nations, that Russia's involved, that Turkey is involved in this. You've got Sudan, you've got Libya, you've got Iran, you've got all these nations that are involved in this. Why would America, who is the greatest ally of the nation of Israel, who, by the way, is being supported by our current president, Donald Trump, who stands with Israel, supporting the nation of Israel, why would America not be mentioned in this time to come? We're fast forwarding here. Again, this is not going to happen today. This is not going to happen tomorrow. It's impossible, guys, if we stick to the Bible. Okay? But there is coming a future event down the road where this will take place. And America is not directly mentioned. Now, I'm going to give you 6 scenarios of why. So hear me out, and then you guys can discuss it among yourselves. You guys here on YouTube, feel free to comment. Feel free to comment here on and discuss this within yourself in the thread here on Facebook Live. You can talk about this in your Bible studies, and I hope this will challenge you to research this yourself. Okay, number one, if you're taking notes, the number one scenario why America is not directly mentioned in the war of Ezekiel 38-39, the war of Gog and Magog. Could it be possible that there would be an event that would take place that would result in absolute chaos, confusion, and destruction in this event? And this is going to stir some people up, because we're torn here. We've got a whole group of individuals that believe this, and there's another group of individuals that don't believe this, but this is a point of discussion today. Could it be possible that the rapture of the church takes place either before or during this great war of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Again, the rapture, you can call it the rapture, you can call it the catching away, you can call it the gathering together, whatever, the great escape, whatever you want to call it. That's your business. But could it be possible? Now look, there's many scholars that believe that they've actually put the timing of this event, the catching away, the gathering together, the rapture of the church, they have put this event taking place either right before Ezekiel 38 and 39 or during the middle of this war. Now, could it be possible that this event happens, and this is why America is not mentioned? Because I want you to think about this scenario for a second. If multitudes and multitudes of people were caught up in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye, and we were gathered together with the Lord, and don't you think we'd have Christian pilots, Christian military, Christian individuals in the Navy, in the Air Force, in computers and technology, all through different places of government, facets, this, and all through scenarios. So if these individuals were immediately removed, there would be absolute chaos, confusion, and destruction that would break out over America. Okay, so this is just one scenario, guys, of why America may not be mentioned. Okay, number two. Does America collapse economically speaking? Okay, let me ask you again. Could it be possible that America will collapse economically speaking like we did in the Great Depression? Thus, it disqualifies America financially to be able to sustain a war, to even be involved in a war, to be able to support Israel in a war, because they're not financially able to. Kind of like the ancient empire of Rome. Rome got to a point where they deteriorated within. They collapsed, and they were no longer a superpower. Could it be possible? Again, we're just throwing out some scenarios. Could America collapse as an empire economically speaking? And if that was the results, that makes perfect. If that was to happen and that scenario was to take place, it would make perfect sense why America is not mentioned. Okay, number three scenario. Okay, could it be possible that in the future tense, fast forward in this war, that in Ezekiel 38 and 39, when this happens, that America is under the leadership or under the presidency of a man or a woman who no longer supports the nation of Israel as their greatest ally, thus, diplomatically speaking, or by policy, or whatever, they do not support the nation of Israel. Thus, they are on the sidelines with Britain and with Saudi Arabia, and they choose not to be in this war. That's another scenario, okay? Could it be possible? Absolutely. Number four, that's why you got to listen. I don't care whether you like him or not, but I thank God that we do have a president that at least supports the nation of Israel while we still have it and there's still time. Come on, somebody. Number four, here's another scenario. Number four, could it be possible that America is attacked? A sneak attack, an attack that catches America off guard by a nation such as Russia, such as North Korea. And they launch, watch this, they launch and they are successful with an electromagnetic pulse bomb. You know why I'm going to say this today? Listen, here's number one, I'm going to say this. This is why I believe this scenario could be very possible, because there's something that's always intrigued scholars, is when you go to this war of Ezekiel 38:39, it doesn't mention tanks, it doesn't mention planes, it mentions a horseback. Now, why in the day, even let's just say hypothetically, if this war was to happen tomorrow with the technology that we have in weaponry and advanced technology and everything that we have right now, why in the world would this happen on horseback and with swords? Why wouldn't it happen with tanks? Why wouldn't it happen with planes? Why wouldn't it happen with missiles? Why wouldn't it happen with all these things? Again, it's very possible that there is something that's happened that's knocked out the power grid, knocked out communications, and it's knocked out the probabilities or the possibilities or the capabilities for modern day weapons of warfare to be used. That involves microchips, involves computers, involves copper wiring, and involves all this technology. See, this is why we just had this discussion the other day on a practical level, because here where I am in Indiana, our power went out. In fact, it was yesterday. Our power went out for 30 minutes. And, at first I was kind of like, okay, and the skies are blue. There's no storms. There's no reason logically why the power went out. But after about 15 minutes, I couldn't help but to think for a second that one of the scenarios that I thought of was, first thing I thought of was, oh my God, did we just get hit by an EMP? But then I quickly realized when I picked up my phone that there was still communications. Because in the event of a EMP attack, there would be no communications by phone. There would be no electricity. You would not be driving your vehicle unless you have a vehicle that was manufactured way before they put everything on computer where the vehicles rely on computers to be able to operate. Okay, that's why I like the cars back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and even in the 70s, because even if this was to happen, it wouldn't matter. You'd still be able to start your engine, still be able to drive. But that's not the case today, guys. That's not the case right now. So again, this is very interesting. This is food for thought today. Okay, number 5. Could America be attacked and destroyed in 1 hour's time? Now, watch it. Now, this is where we're going to go with the second part of this. I'm not going to do this today. There's no way. We ain't got time to do this today. But on number 5, that's going to bring us to our second part of this. Because let me go back up here. He says, and the Lord says in Ezekiel 39:6, I will send fire on Magog and on those who live in security in the coastlands. Fire. Now, what does that translate to? Fire could be war. It could be an attack. It could be a destruction. But nevertheless, God is sending a fire to whoever this nation is that lives security in the coastlands. Now, could this be a preemptive strike by Russia or North Korea or Iran or China or a combination of nations coming together and they take out America? Okay, because again, he says, I'll send a fire to those. And if you go into the book, and again, we're not going to do this today, but it's going to lead us to our next part that we're going to have to do the second part of it. If you go to Revelation 18, it mentions, it talks about this Babylon, whoever this Babylon is. Again, I'm just throwing food for thought, but whoever this, and there's great differences of opinions on who this Babylon is. But whoever this Babylon is that's mentioned in Revelation 18, your Bible says that they are destroyed in 1 hour's time. In 1 hour, they are wiped out. And we're going to talk about that in our next segment. And they're not just some shabby nation. They're a splendid nation. They have great economic power. They have great influence. There's much trade there. And their culture and their society has influenced the nations of the world. But the Bible says that whoever this Babylon is in Revelation 18, they will be wiped out and destroyed in 1 hour's time. And the nations will stand afar off in fear of the smoke, and they'll begin to weep and say, oh, how this great nation, this great Babylon has come down in 1 hour's time. Could it be possible? You got to listen to our second part, okay? I'm not going to leave you hanging. We got to go to our next part on this, and we'll talk about this in depthly. but it could be possible that America may be destroyed in 1 hour. I know this is not a feel-good, preach-you-happy message, but again, this is the great elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to sweep it under the rug. All the prosperity preachers don't want to talk about it. Come on, somebody. Christian television don't want to talk about this. But let me preach on that in just a second. Let me get to the sixth one, okay? Because we got to finish this segment today. I don't want to take too much of your time. Number 6, if you're taking notes, possible scenario is that could America be destroyed or taken out by a series of natural disasters, such as the Yellowstone National Park super volcano? Come on. That now scientists and seismologists and volcanologists are all beginning to say at one time there was nothing to be concerned of, there was nothing to be worried about, and this was all just, this is natural. But now they've come out and they've changed their tune, and they're saying that a Yellowstone super volcanic eruption could actually take place sooner than what we anticipated and sooner than what we thought. You've got scientists and seismologists that keep warning and keep sounding the alarm about the Cascadian Fault on the West Coast. They keep sounding the alarm about the San Andreas Fault on the West Coast. And if it blows, and if they get a mega quake on the West Coast of the United States, it could absolutely cripple the United States. And then we've got the New Madrid fault line that runs down the nation's midsection, that they've said that if we ever get one of the magnitude of 1811 and 1812, by the way, that was so great that it caused the Mississippi River to run backwards. And they said if we was ever to get one of these quakes of that magnitude, it could literally split this nation in half and send water running all the way from the Great Lakes of Michigan all the way down to Louisiana, New Orleans, okay? And it would split this nation. Now, some have even talked about this, that all these fault lines are intertwined. They're intertwined together. They're connected. So if a major earthquake, let's just say hypothetically that if a major quake was to take place on the New Madrid, it could actually trigger other fault lines. So could it be possible that there would be a domino effect or a sequence of events of seismic activity, disasters that would trigger these quakes? Now, what's interesting, that if you go to Ezekiel 39, if you go to Ezekiel, let me pull out let me grab a Bible here, guys. I don't even have, let me pull this up here on my computer. Shame on me for not having one right here beside me. I thought I had everything in my notes here, but obviously I didn't here. So I want to pull up something here. Just give me just a second, because I want to show you something here. I want to show you an event that takes place. I believe that this is an earthquake that happens during this war of Gog and Magog, that this quake is so huge that it actually triggers a volcanic eruption. Now listen to this. For in my jealousy, this is Ezekiel 39:19. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath I have spoken, surely in that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. Now, where is it going to happen? The land of Israel. By the way, Revelation 11 talks about this earthquake that I believe, 3,000, 5,000 people, somewhere around there, that die from this quake. He said that there will be an earthquake so great in the land of Israel that the fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, the beasts of the field, and all creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all men who are on the face of the earth shall shake in my presence. And as a result of this earthquake, you can read it, it's in Ezekiel 39, the mountains will be thrown down. Come on, that's out of Isaiah. It says, and every mountain shall be moved out of its place. The steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Whew. How many believes that's a big earthquake, that it gets the attention of the world? Okay, so don't tell me this is not possible, guys. So again, I proposed something that's going to be a great topic of interest to many of you who do Bible studies. Discuss this. Comment under the YouTube section. Let me hear your thoughts on this. Am I off on this? Give me some of your insight. If you like, the Bible talks about iron sharpens iron. So I'm open to opinions. I'm open to thought on this. Again, there's differences of opinions on timelines, on nations involved, on America's involvement. Where is America? What will happen? There is many opinions on this, and I'm giving you some scenarios here to chew on. Now, again, we're going to do a second part to this, and I'm going to show you again Revelation 18, and I'm only proposing a question to you. Could America, this is on our second part, not today, but could America be this Babylon that is destroyed in 1 hour? So this is going to be a 2-part series on this. I know we've got our Revelation series on the 7 churches of Asia Minor. I haven't forgot about that. We're going to do that. We're going to follow up on that. But we've got, come on, guys. This is. I love doing this stuff. This stuff is intriguing. It's points of interest and discussions that we can talk about in topics. So again, if you're just joining me today, perhaps this is your first time joining me, and you say, oh, "Wow, this is interesting." Again, we welcome you today. Again, I'm Ricky Scapel, the founder, the pastor, and the voice of End Time Headlines. You can follow us at endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. You'll see that information here on YouTube. If you're not following us on Facebook, please go follow us on Facebook, and you can get you can catch these segments when we go live and be a part of our conversations with other individuals as they jump on here live. If you're watching by Facebook Live, we do have a YouTube channel. You can find that if you'll type in End Time Headlines, or you can type in my name, Ricky Scaparo, Scaparo. Again, I'll put all this information up there in the description of here on Facebook Live, and also here on YouTube. If you'd like to support this ministry with a gift of any amount, again, all of our messages, all of our Viewpoint segments, all these are prophetic updates. They're all free. We don't offer CDs, we don't offer DVDs, we don't do books, and we don't require a paid subscription to our website or any of that. It's all free. It's to equip you, to edify you, and to inform you of the times and seasons in which we are in. That's our mission. That is our vision here at End Time Headlines. But we ask that those that could and those that are able, that would be obedient to what the Lord puts on your heart to support this ministry, you can do that. You'll see the information. I'll put all that up there and here as well as on YouTube. Again, for those that like to give by check or money order, we do have a physical mailing address, and you can give to End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 2312, and that's Clarksville, Indiana. And that's 47131. So again, we love you guys. We appreciate you taking the time out on this Wednesday, October 18th. Can you believe it's already almost November, almost Thanksgiving? It's unbelievable how fast time is going in this 2017. Can you believe it's almost been 1 year since we had the elections? It's unbelievable how fast time is going. But again, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your insights, your opinions. You can message us at Facebook at End Time Headlines. You can email us at endtimeheadlines@yahoo.com. If you have any testimonies, anything you'd like to discuss, prayer requests, whatever the case may be, you can send those to those 2 locations, and we will, to the best of our ability, be able to do that and answer those. We do have question and answer sessions periodically, and we do have live prayer segments, usually on the weekends on Saturday and Sunday. So it is hump day. It is Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Tomorrow, Lord willing, we will be back on here, and we will we'll continue our series on the 7 churches of Asia. We're going to do our second part to the church that we the segment we did last time, and we're going to be talking about the book of life, or the book of living, which is going to be an interesting topic. And then we're going to finish up this segment later on, probably this week. We'll probably try to close it out on Friday, Lord willing. And if the Lord gives us anything else, like a right now word that I feel burning in my heart that I want to share, we'll be sure to share those with you as well. So we love you guys. God bless you. Have a good Wednesday. And Lord willing, we will see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Amen.